Along the banks of Lake Erie in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Brown Stadium, and it's the Denver Broncos 4-1 against the home Browns. 1 win and 4 losses to start this season. Dick Enberg along with Randy Cross. And when you talk about the Broncos under Shanahan, their offense more productive than any team in the NFL. But if historic proportions this year, the defense allowing 1 touchdown in just 5 games.
And some familiar faces to Cleveland Browns fans in that front four. Guys that have spent a lot of time playing for these Browns. And they've come here and people have said, how come they're so good? Well, I've got a theory for you. Let's start with OG. The linebackers behind him are pretty good, especially a guy like Al Wilson starting at that middle linebacker position who can really smack people around. And then you got John Lynch, who for all intents and purposes is a linebacker. And if you're going to throw the ball against this defense, don't throw it at Champ Bailey because he'll do this. Now the Cleveland Browns coming in here against that good defense for the Broncos have the talent to give this defense fits. Charlie Fry is young, he's active, and he's always looking to make plays. Braylon Edwards is the big playmaker, and the guy I think can make some excellent catches and runs after is Kellen Winslow against this defense. He should be a huge factor.
And a reminder that this game is being broadcast in high definition here on CBS, home of Super Bowl 41. And the weather here in northern Ohio, it's a football day. 47 degrees. It's gray. Some showers predicted, maybe even a chance of a snow flurry. As you see the flag honoring the 60 years of this great football franchise in Cleveland. Mike Shanahan, his 12th season in the league, one of the most successful ever at age 54. A couple of Super Bowl wins, and Romeo Crennel, product of Bill Parcells. Bill Belichick was the defensive coordinator in the Super Bowl years with the New England Patriots in his second season as the head man here in Cleveland. Phil Dawson has it teed up, and the Denver Broncos will receive. Dawson, strong leg, but this wind is going to knock down kicks in warm-up both directions. It was affecting the field goal kickers and punters. Quincy Morgan is down at the goal line for Denver to return. Dawson has nailed 9 touchbacks in 20 attempts this year, best in the NFL for pinning the opposing team on their opening possession at the 20-yard line. Browns with their throwback look throughout this season, honoring their 60 great football seasons, and we're underway in Cleveland. Dawson hits it deep. 3 yards. You can see the wind floated wide. Morgan gambles, and he pays the price. Knocked down at the 8-yard line. Coverage by Sean Thompson. So Jake Plummer and the Denver Broncos will start inside. Over 19 yards of catch. Cecil Sapp in motion on first down. Plummer with a handoff to Tatum Bell, and Bell gets 4 off the left side into the arms of Orpheus Roy. Here's the Cleveland defense, a 3-4 base for the Browns. In the middle, his 16th year, 370 pounds of Ted Washington. Keep an eye on outside linebacker rookie Cameron Wembley. He has 4.6 speed. Wembley leads Cleveland with 3 sacks. And the Browns welcome back cornerback Gary Baxter. They've missed him. He's been out the last 3 games with a chest injury. Call it a 3-yard gain on first down. Right back to Bell. Same spot. Left tackle dropped near the 15-yard line as rookie DeQuell Jackson at linebacker makes the stop. Jackson from Maryland was the 2nd-round pick, and to his right is Cameron Wembley, the 1st-round selection of the Browns. These 2 young backers, they feel the foundation for the defensive future. And
defense did a nice job of dealing with a very conservative offense, but due to that bad decision by Morgan, they have to be conservative. And even here, don't compound a bad decision by your returner by taking an unnecessary risk with the football and setting up an opponent with good field position.
Plummer from a spread formation. His first pass is complete to Rod Smith. Tackled immediately right at the 20-yard line, but that'll be good enough for a first down as Gary Baxter makes the hit. Well, Randy's look at this game. Here's his crosstalk.
Pretty simple stuff, really. Sooner or later, this offense is going to do it. For Broncos, they have to make it this week. As far as the Cleveland Browns are concerned, squeeze and pressure. So far, so good on that, but they've got to pressure Jake Plummer a lot more than they did in the last play. And really simple for the defense and the whole team, really. Don't ignore, just ignore the stats. Pay no attention to what you hear coming in here.
Fans in Denver upset about the fact that the Broncos aren't scoring up to their standards of the pass, and Plummer has to throw this one away into the Denver bench. And a lot of the pressure from the media and the fans on this man, Jake Plummer. Good pressure from former Patriot Willie McGinnis on that play. They improved somewhat last week.
Well, who doesn't against the Raiders?
I wasn't going to say it. But that is inordinately poor start for the Bronco offense that has produced more yards in the 12 Shanahan years than any other NFL team. Off a little play action, and Plummer is pressured now as McGinnis is after him, and now he throws downfield, throws it away. So Willie McGinnis twice hawking quarterback Jake Plummer and forcing him to throw the ball away. Veteran from Southern California in his 13th season.
Dick, that's exactly what this defense needs to do, and it's got to come from Wembley, and it's got to come from McGinnis, maybe a blitzer at some point, but you've got to get Jake Plummer uncomfortable. If he's able to roll out and do what he likes to do best, which is kind of wiggle around in that pocket, you're going to have a lot of trouble with him. But if you make his feet a little happy, you got a shot at getting the ball down the field.
3rd and 10. 3 wides to the left. Plummer dumps it off in the right flat to Bell. Bell hit by McGinnis. Down he goes for a loss. Quite a stand by the Cleveland defense. Sellout crowd here of 73,000 plus, cheering the defense that has played rather well throughout the season. The Browns last game, they had a bye this last week, losing to Carolina 20-12. They lost by 1 to Baltimore 15-14. So they've been an energetic group. They play hard and they gang tackle.
Well, the 4 teams they've lost to, Dick, have won 16 games between them.
Here's a kick off the side of the foot of Paul Ernster. And the fumble, a muff by Joshua Cribbs, and he loses it to Denver. And this is what really has plagued the Cleveland Browns. They're a -9 in turnovers this year, and they turn it over before they can get the offense on the field at the 40-yard line as Cecil Sapp, the fullback, covers the ball for Denver.
And Joshua Cribbs has been a player for this team that has made a lot of big plays. He's been a real spark for the special teams. This is just flat out not a very intelligent decision. And what happens really, it gets him in trouble, is he looks up to see where the pursuit is. And when he does, it's the same time he's looking down. So he's looking down, he sort of glances up. And when he glances up, that ball is gone.
He should have followed his own advice, stay away from the ball, but did not. And Sapp, who was playing fullback, is reminded, you're in the huddle. We don't have Kyle Johnson today. Johnson, the regular starter at fullback, sidelined with an ankle injury. So -10 turnover ratio, that just will kill you. And that's why the Cleveland Browns are 1-4. Tatum Bell. Gain of 4 on first down into the arms of Andre Davis, who led the Cleveland Browns in tackles last year, led the league with 199. 5th year out of Florida.
And they're seeing a little multiple looks too from Denver, and that's something you expect out of the Broncos. You haven't seen much during the year, and you should start seeing more. As far as that was 3 wides with Steven Alexander, not Sapp, in at fullback for a little bit of a different look from Mike Shanahan's offense.
With the only 1 fullback, he does have 4 tight ends active today to Shanahan. So those tight ends will share some of that duty. Here's the bootleg. Plummer loves that. Has to throw this one in the flat away. Steven Alexander was the closest white jersey as Cameron Wembley, the rookie, pressuring the bootlegging Plummer.
Well, you get him sort of going all over. He spent all week long, Dick, listening to his defensive coaches. Whatever you do, don't let this guy get outside you. Do not let him boot outside. And then at the same time, they're saying, but when that run goes away, you better seal down and don't let that cutback happen either.
The rookie frustrations and confusions. But of course, Plummer throws so well bootlegging against his body to the left, and Wembley had the play that time on 3rd and 6. Plummer, plenty of time, throws into the flat, incomplete, intended for Rod Smith. And the Browns defense does the job again.
Great coverage by Gary Baxter coming back from that pec injury. Been out for about a month. You know, he missed about 11 games last year. He tore one pectoral muscle. Now this year, it's the other one he's had trouble with. But right there, he was all over Rod Smith.
Baxter, who had a twinkle in his eye when we talked with him, and said, you know, I've intercepted 3 passes when I played against Denver. Good coverage there as Ernster will try to float this one down inside the 10, line of scrimmage, the 36. This is a position where coaches will try the fake. And Cribbs probably told just get as far away from as you can. Look at the wind take that ball, and it's down at the 16-yard line. The down dog pound barking as the Browns offense on the field. They've not done much in the opening quarter this year. In fact, they're the only team in the league not to score a touchdown in the opening quarter. Jets and Miami did score today. They were the other 2 beginning play. Reuben Drones is met in the backfield, pushed back and dropped for a loss. T.J. Williams and Eon Gold, 2 of the linebackers with a tackle. Charlie Fry, Ohio native, one of several Mid-American quarterbacks in the you saw on that first carry, unable to make it to the line of scrimmage. Right back to Drones, and he struggles to get to the 19-yard line. The Denver defense, Broncos front 4, the Broncos, all 4 starters were with Cleveland in the recent past. The speed of Denver linebackers takes away the sideline-to-sideline game. Williams, Wilson, Gold, as good as any set of backers in the league. And maybe the best cornerback of all, Champ Bailey, teams with All-Pro John Lynch in a stingy Denver secondary. They've been very tough on the scoreboard. 1 touchdown allowed in 5 games. You got to go back all the way to 1934, the Detroit Lions, to find a team that tough to score against early in the season. There's the pass, and it's complete to Joe Jaravicius. He's starting today. Dennis Northcutt is injured, and Jaravicius has been a good luck charm seemingly here in the 2000s. No matter where he plays, you can write a ticket for the Super Bowl.
Well, when you're looking at a guy like Kellen Winslow on one side and Braylon Edwards on the other, Joe Jaravicius kind of gets lost in the shuffle. It's been that way most places he's been, and most places he's been, he makes people pay when they forget about number 84.
His 7th catch of the season, good for 15 yards, and a Cleveland first down at the 34. Another pass underneath, it's complete. Kellen Winslow, the tight end who leads all NFL tight ends in catches coming in with 30, has his first today and another first down.
And what this young man brings, I think, is a power and the ability to run after the catch that can give this Bronco defense some serious trouble. And it's a weapon that Mike Shanahan deeply would love to have, that kind of a receiving tight end. Tight end's been kind of a tradition in Denver with a guy like Sharp. His name sound fairly familiar back in those days, but right now it's a great weapon for Cleveland and not much one for Denver.
7 catches is all from the core of tight ends, and here's Drones prancing through a hole across the 50 as Ian Gold makes a tackle, and Drones with a gain of 6. Reuben Drones, what a happy go. Have you ever interviewed a man who just laughed through the whole conversation? He's a happy guy. Not happy is Gerard Warren, the defensive tackle, Lex Brown, in the middle of that Denver defense. They work apparently on an ankle or lower leg, foot. Second and mark it 3 now as they spot the ball at the 48. Fry, good throw, good catch. Braylon Edwards, a one-hander. Darren Williams makes the tackle. It was good for only a yard or 2, but what a one-handed stab by Edwards.
Well, normally you'd say good hands, but this is just good hand. Just one, right hand. He's running in one direction, reaches back, and just snags it back to his other hand. That was a great case of hand-eye coordination. And it tells you something about these receivers. You got to have a young quarterback like Charlie Fry who wants to make things happen. I think he's kind of pretty geeked up early in the game, but right now he looks very, very composed.
3rd down and 1. Drones is 3 for 3 on 3rd and 1, and he struggles and doesn't make it. So that's the first time he has not converted on 3rd and short this season. It'll be 4th and 1.
I wouldn't be surprised if Romeo Cornell went for it here against Denver in this situation. It's only about 2 feet. And just flat does not get the drive out of his offensive line. And great backside fits. Especially nice move by Al Wilson coming in that linebacking position.
And DJ Williams from the far linebacker spot got a piece of him as well.
I like this, Dick. Not only your team is going to get behind you and loves it, your fans love this.
You're 1-4. You go for it 4th and 1 at the opponent's 46. Fry has to call a timeout. Dollars a fall in Edgewater Park. 4th down and 1 as the Browns with a first quarter gamble. Fry rolls. Grabbed from behind and dropped for a loss, and Denver takes over on downs as Michael Myers. Many years under Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, both of those had men going for 4th and 1 time and time again. He tried with a run pass option, and Fry unable to get to the line of scrimmage and limped off the field. Looked a little dazed after the tackle. Taking over his Plummer. Quick throw complete. Walker straight arms and finally bounced out of bounds at the 40-yard line. A first down for Denver. Davin Holly made the play defensively.
2 critical players. One is Kellen Winslow. The other one right here is DJ Williams. Watch the position the linebacker maintains. As the quarterback rolls out, he wants his tight end to end up somewhere over in here, and he's going to throw it to him. But the position of that linebacker cuts him off. He can't risk trying to toss it, lob it over the top of him. Has to try to run it and gets nailed.
Tatum Bell in the backfield behind Plummer with Alexander as the blocker, and Plummer has to force his throw incomplete, and unfortunately for Cleveland, not looking for the ball was Willie McGinnis. Had he turned around, the ball was there. Orpheus Roy on top of the quarterback.
Well, that's something we talked about, the squeezing and the pressure on Jake Plummer, that you have got to do that. And Orpheus Roy just sells out. They tried to cut block him, but he throws about 325 pounds up in the air and comes down right at Jake's feet. Affects the throw.
Already 3 times Plummer has had to throw before he wanted to. Good pressure from that Cleveland defense. Here's Denver's Tate Bell, knocked forward on the tackle by Cameron Wembley. A gain of 5.
Yeah, so the one thing about this offense, Dick, you mentioned how Plummer and the offense haven't done very much this season. In fact, they're one of the worst teams in the league. When you start looking at the other teams that are in their category as far as futility offensively, everybody else has 1 win or worse, or no wins.
That's right. When you average only 12 points scoring a game, you don't figure to be 4-1. But when your defense doesn't allow any scoring, there's Plummer throwing to the sidelines, and a hand-to-hand battle. That's caromed and then intercepted by Cleveland and knocked out of bounds is Gary Baxter. That's his 4th interception against Denver in his career.
Now, you know, that explains the twinkle in his eye yesterday. Excellent play. Tipped in the air, kicked off the foot, nothing but net.
And he has not thrown a pass for Cleveland. It's his 2nd season out of Oregon State, as Charlie Fry left the field dazed after that hit on 4th and 1. A concussion is the word we're getting as Ruben Drones drives ahead for a couple of yards. And you also saw Gerard Warren earlier. A sprained toe is the word on Warren, and he's been replaced by Dimitrin Veal at defensive tackle. And Charlie Fry, you hear the cheer in the background as he returns to the lineup. Off to a good start was Fry. So obviously dinged a little, as they say in the game, but not KO'd.
Well, that offensive line, that offense in general, better have a renewed sense of urgency about protecting this kid. Now he really can't afford to take those shots he takes so regularly.
2nd and 6, and here's Lynch on a blitz, and the quick pass is complete. Jaravicius, and that was so close. Darren Williams was looking for a touchdown, almost had his hands on it. Jaravicius stole it away and picks up a good gain out to the 44-yard line.
We use the term picking your shots and having good timing all the time, and this is a great example of really picking your shot offensively at the perfect time, because it put them in a position where they had to take a chance. It seemed so obvious, and a nice job by Fry delivering that ball on the inside to Jaravicius.
He floats that, and it's Denver 6 points the other way. 4 for 4 the start for Charlie Fry. Back to pass again on first down. He's going long for Braylon Edwards. Incomplete, broken up by Darren Williams. A tough play for Edwards as he battled man for man with a much shorter Williams, who's only 5'8".
The good thing about this coverage from the Denver Broncos receivers, and they do it on a regular basis, Dick, and the best one at it is obviously Champ Bailey, is they are able to contend and kind of fight with receivers without ever really making much contact. And they've adapted themselves, and they've used great techniques adapting to the new rules.
And indeed, they're one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. Fry pumping and throwing it away. That brings up 3rd down and 10.
Yeah, obviously the time Charlie Fry really got munched was on that 4th down, and there's very much you can do about that once he's out of the pocket and becomes a runner. But it's incumbent upon this offense to take better care of this kid. This franchise has already ruined one quarterback in Tim Couch, and they've got another very talented quarterback in this Charlie Fry. They got him in the 3rd round, so I guess the pressure of being a first-round quarterback's not there, but it's incumbent upon them to take care of this kid. He's young, he could be really good, but you're going to ruin him if he keeps getting hammered like he has been.
3rd down and 10. Play action, screen. It goes to the tight end Steve Hayden, and Hayden tripped up as he gets to the 48-yard line short of the first down, and little Darren Williams comes up just as he covered so well deep on the ball to Braylon Edwards, up to make the tackle in the flat to save a first down.
You know, one thing that's kind of almost poetic justice is to watch a offense, in this case the Browns offensive line, cut blocking a lot of Broncos defenders, because this Broncos offensive line is so known for that cut blocking, and they cut 3 or 4 of their defenders off their feet on that last play.
Well, to do everything, Williams is back to return the punt. Dave Sastadil, the left-footed kicker. And everything's going to be an adventure in this win. Williams going to let it go, and it trickles and stays in bounds at the 2-yard line. Mason Unk to down it for the Cleveland Browns. A 50-yard kick by Dave Zastadil. No score here in the opening quarter. Broncos will begin at their own 2. Back in Cleveland, no score here in the opening quarter. Cleveland's had good field position. Their kick returns have been outstanding, 4th best in the league. Denver has not, and here's a classic example. Plummer sets up shop at his own 2. Tatum Bell, the running back. And Plummer to throw from his own end zone and completes it. Out across the 20 to Rod Smith. The reliable veteran has a first down and some breathing room for the Broncos. Baxter made the tackle.
That's a great example of a play drawn up by a guy like Mike Shanahan, because you have a tight end running a drag out the other way underneath, sort of opens it up where they expect a short pass when you're backed up, and Rod Smith delivers a nice long pass from Jake Plummer to set him up in now much more comfortable field position.
2 catches today. He's now tied number 13 all-time with Shannon Sharp with 815 receptions. Rod Smith, hand off. Tatum Bell. Good patience there. Sets up the block. Squeezes out a gain of about 7. A reminder to take CBS Sportsline with you wherever you go on your internet-enabled phone. Access breaking news and in-depth stats as you click on mobile at CBSSportsline.com. Nate Jackson, Randy Cross, comes into the Denver Bronco huddle at tight end.
He was the last one on the last play. The tight end that ran a little route into the flat underneath Rod Smith, helped him open up that side of the field. That was Nate Jackson getting off the ball right now in motion.
Number 89, he was a wide receiver, gained 20 pounds at the urging of Mike Shanahan to make him a tight end. Here's the long ball, could be intercepted. No, taken away from Baxter. Up goes Javon Walker with that 6'3" height and leaping ability. Baxter was settling under it like an outfielder, and Walker just moved in and stole the ball.
You mentioned, Dick, about being an adventure, kicking the ball and trying to catch a kick. Here's an adventure with a ball that kind of seemed to float up and stay up there longer than Baxter thought. Bad timing by him and excellent anticipation.
38-yard gain. Walker didn't give up on it, and as the wind affected the trajectory, it floated back away from Baxter and right to him. First down at the 34. Play action again. Plummer looking for more and misses connections as he tried to hit Nate Jackson, who curled at about the 18-yard mark.
You know, Mike Shanahan's kind of anxious to see what this young guy can do. You know, they drafted Tony Scheffler out of Western Michigan.
Second round.
Yeah, his second round. He's had a pretty good preseason, but he struggled as most young players will earlier. And Bill Walsh basically recommended Jackson to Mike Shanahan as a wide receiver. But when he saw what the kid could do and his size, figure, hey, add some pounds to him. And there's been a couple of receivers in Denver with odd size, not quite receivers, not quite tight ends.
Shannon Sharp didn't overpower you with his weight, but he certainly did the job. Tatum Bell powers his way inside the Cleveland 30-yard line as the final seconds tick away here in the opening quarter. Well, Denver had a couple of chances, could not convert those. The Browns stay with them at a scoreless first quarter, and we'll return to Cleveland after these messages. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Check the latest around the NFL. It's all on now on NFL.com. And for Denver, their problem scoring in the opening quarter, they have scored just 7 points themselves. There's Plummer underneath and complete for a first down to Javon Walker to the 20-yard line. Boy, what a big target he is.
And Jake Plummer's got to love having him and Rod Smith on either side. Maybe even this Nate Jackson if he can develop into a weapon down the middle. But saw that play selection. 6 runs now and 13 passes. You can't criticize Denver for being conservative. Mike Shanahan is not exactly backing off. And you knew eventually they had to get to a mode where they're going to start trying some of the stuff they've always done and start unveiling a little bit more of this offense.
On first down, it's to Bell. Bell with 5 with almost 6 yards on the carry before being bumped out by Davin Holly. Red zone success for the Denver Broncos thus far on the season.
As good as their defense is in the same area of the field, their offense is equally as bad.
28th best. Touchdowns only a bit more than 1 out of 3.
And ideally, if you're having a great year, you want to be around 70%.
Second down and 4. Sapp the blocker in front of Tatum Bell. 2 wide receivers to the left. Bell. And he's met rudely. DeQuell Jackson on top. And underneath was Ethan Kelly, the nose tackle.
Yeah, Phil Savage, the general manager here, has done a nice job with some of these young players. You look through this roster for the Cleveland Browns, and defensively, especially with the 2 young rookies and DeQuell Jackson and Cameron Wembley, their guys are going to be here for a good long time and turn this into, for Cleveland Brown fans' sake, hopefully a dominant, big play-making defense.
You see the Browns in the middle of the packed red zone defense. A key third down. And about 2.5. Off play action is Plummer. Finally has to throw toward the end zone, throws it over the end zone, incomplete. And again, good pressure. Alvin McKinley, the defensive end, forcing Plummer to hurry. So out comes the field goal unit for Denver.
Gary Baxter was pretty lucky. I think he had a little yank there on Kirkus's jersey at the end of that play to keep him from going back for that ball.
So here's the veteran Jason Elam, 3-time Pro Bowler in his 14 seasons in Denver, moving up the ranks of the top scorers all time. This one is good from 32 yards. If successful, the kick is up. The wind takes it, and it is good. It just did squeak. Kicks it off. The punter spins to the 5. Joshua Cribbs has a hole. Tripped up from behind at the 46-yard line. He leads the league in kickoff returns, averaging better than 28, and he takes that one back about 38 yards.
By Cadillac, life, liberty, and the pursuit.
Yeah, one study said that these are the most loyal fans in the NFL. Last 7 years sold out. They've been 37 and 80. Weather not had a winning team, and yet they tradition of following Cleveland Browns football continues. Under the wind off the lake here today, up to 35 miles an hour. The pass is complete to Hayden, Steve Hayden, the tight end, and a gain of about 5 on first down.
You know, for all the complaints about offense in Denver, this Cleveland offense is able to start most of their drives in pretty good position. You know, Denver has been in about the worst, and Cleveland's been in some of the best field position, but the reason they've scored so few points is their offense has been so anemic. And a lot of that goes back to me to the offensive line. Has not lived up to snuff to what it has to do. Maurice Carthon, the offensive coordinator, has caught most of the grief.
And off inside the drones, and the 220-pounder who played at Oregon, tackled by D.J. Williams at the Denver 42-yard line, close to a first down. It'll be a yard shy.
We've already seen a similar situation, 3rd and short, 4th and short. It's incumbent upon this offensive line to get these kind of first downs. You want your offense to get on a roll, to start getting dominant, to make it easier to play those, to call those plays, and to sort of mix and match more. You've got to be able to take control up front.
And Joshua Cribbs in motion to the far side on 3rd and 1, and Fry's going to throw for it. Throws low. Is it intercepted? No. Trapped and dropped by Darren Williams. Oh, that was an unwise toss by Fry.
I don't think that was intended for the back receiver. I think it was intended for the near receiver, the underneath receiver.
Well, Cleveland gambled from this position on 4th and 1. You see Darren Williams with a chance at a pick, but Romeo Crennel has decided to bring on the punting team this time at the 42-yard line, 4th and 1. And again, the position in the field where you have to be aware of a possible fake. Darren Williams is back, and Zastudil sends up a high floater. Darren Williams, fair catch at the 15-yard line as the wind knocked that one back. Oh, timeout here in Cleveland, where the Broncos lead it, Mother. But How I Met Your Mother does start your Monday nights off right here on CBS. How about it? How I Met Your Mother tomorrow at 8, 7 Central on CBS. Again this season, America's most watched network. Out of the windmill producing electricity for the Science Museum next door to Cleveland Stadium. First down at the 15. Plummer complete. Quick hitter to Javon Walker, a gain of about 4 to the 19-yard line. Gary Baxter, the tackler.
I've already seen balls that are up in the air for any extended period of time are not a good idea. A lot of drilled passes, a lot of short stick-em type routes are the best way to go here in this weather, because so far the offensive execution has kind of set the whole idea of NFL offenses back a few decades early on in this game.
A little stronger from the back of Plummer now, going left to right. It's going to hamper kicks more. Plummer caught from behind and sacked. Alvin McKinley, his first of the season. Veteran from Mississippi State, had his best year last season with 5 sacks.
And he's just going to come in, watch the pressure right in this area. They're going to stress a particular spot, and McKinley just comes right inside. I mean, that was just quick example of beating an offensive lineman fast at the point of attack. Matt Lepsis was out getting his knee checked out, and they took advantage of his replacement.
Lepsis has gone to the locker room for x-rays as Plummer rolls, plants, and then tosses downfield and skips it incomplete. Javon Walker, the target, and the Cleveland Brown defense inspires once again these fans of the Browns.
Well, Eric Pears is the replacement, number 64, in there for Matt Lepsis, and McKinley did a nice job of completely stopping the other guy's feet. He made a couple of quick moves with his upper body and just froze the feet of Pears and came inside of him.
Ernster to punt from his own end zone with Joshua Cribbs, ever dangerous, out at the Cleveland 40. The kick's going to come up short. And takes a great Denver bounce all the way inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. Carl Payman downs it. It's 57 yards to Ernster off his right leg. Pastoral scene at Olmsted Falls along the Rocky River. A reminder coming up, the Sprint halftime report. JB and Company with the latest NFL scores and highlights. Some upsets today in the league, all coming up on the Sprint halftime report. Reuben Drones fans, and had a lot of those in Denver as well. Terrell Smith, the blocking back in front of him. And Fry to throw. Underneath, he dumps it, and wide open is Drones. And he's tackled at the 46-yard line after a gain of 13. First down. Champ Bailey, the defender.
That's almost taking a little bit of a page out of the Denver Broncos book. Charlie Fry jumping this off to Reuben Drones. Saw the lady there with the big day Reuben Drones sign. Well, that's at least not a big day, but it's a big play.
That's right. She's going to have that up a little higher this time as the Browns have a first down at their own 46-yard line. Drones only his 9th catch of the season. Kellen Winslow lined up in the backfield in motion. And Drones runs right into DJ Williams. 4.5 speed, representing hitting power and speed to cover. Well, Reuben Drones at Denver 2 years ago, rushed for over 1,200 yards, comes to Cleveland in the trade, and almost identical numbers with the Browns. And that was a big season for a runner here in Cleveland. Hadn't been done in 20 years since Ernest Miner and Kevin Mack both rushed for 1,000 yards for Cleveland back in '85.
An unusual story, too, Dick. Both the player and the former team talked very well about each other. How unusual is that nowadays?
Yeah, they're very complimentary, both sides. Here's Drones, toppled at midfield. That'll bring up 3rd down and 6. Young Gold. It's just almost impossible to get outside against these Denver linebackers.
Well, with their speed, and it's said often about the speed of these linebackers, but for those of you at home, realistically, there are teams in this league, in the NFL, that have safeties that aren't as fast as the linebackers for the Denver Broncos. That gives you a point of reference. That's why they can take the chances they do with John Lynch and move him down into the box and play him almost like a linebacker.
3rd down and 5. Ball just inched into Denver territory.
Big blitz.
And they back off. And Fry is smothered. He's brought down as Elvis Dumerville, the 5'11" defensive lineman from Louisville. He is a sack master, was at the University of Louisville. He was the Nagurski Award winner there. He had 20 sacks to lead the nation last year. This is his 3rd as a pro.
Look at that. You're Charlie Fry. Which of those 7 guys are you going to pick is actually going to come? Well, how about the shortest one? Elvis is only 5'11", about 250, but he just worms his way in there and gets himself another sack. This young man is going to have a bright future in this league, being a sacking specialist.
Another product of the Miami high school system. So in comes Zastadil for another punt, with Darren Williams standing just outside his 10-yard line. 3-0 Broncos. Watch how the wind brings this one to the sidelines, and kicks out of bounds at about the 14-yard line. Make it the 15, and that's where the Broncos will have it when we return. Next, let's take a look at the report card for the Denver offense today.
Not much. That last drive was impressive, the 85-yarder. How often do you see an 85-yard drive that ends in a field goal, though? Again, in the red zone and having to settle for a kick.
32-yard kick by Elam. Remember, they took possession after a Zastadil punt at the 2. Here's the boot, and the throw is incomplete. A diving try by Brian Russell off the deflection. Rod Smith couldn't quite get up for it, and Russell with a game try, unable to trap the ball.
That's a beautiful play. A little bit is the wind, and as a little bit is the fact that he's just pressured into it. He's got to try to throw it over the top. I believe it was Cameron Wembley, the linebacker, leaping to give him a little bit of something to throw over. I've got to wonder, though, Dick, why are they passing so much? I mean, this is a team that's got such an amazing running game.
It's just the automatic 1,000-yard rusher every season, isn't it? There's a dump-off pass in the flat to Tatum Bell. And he's run out of bounds at about the 18-yard line by Wembley. That'll be well short of a first down and brings up third down and about 5. There it is. 19 pass attempts to only 8 runs here in the first half.
And this 3-4 defense of Romeo Crennel's here in Cleveland has some young players, has some veterans like McGinnis and Washington. They've so far posed a pretty good problem for him running the ball, and honestly a pretty good problem for throwing.
Javon Walker is the man wide left. He's the deep threat as Plummer sets up looking right, fires complete. Rod Smith, and he's across the 35-yard line with a Denver first down. A big throw from Jake Plummer. Gary Baxter, the defender.
Is it me, or was he kind of standing there all by himself? He seemed kind of lonely. Jake kind of goes back and at the last second looks over and sees number 80 all by his lonesome, just standing there by the 30-yard line. You might want to hit me. It's nice execution by Jake Plummer.
And that catch does move him into the number 13 spot, one ahead of Shannon Sharp. Steve Larchin only 3 ahead of Rod Smith. He has more catches, more yards, more touchdowns than any wide receiver undrafted in NFL history.
Will there be a Broncos passing of the baton ceremony at halftime? James Brown and Shannon Sharp.
I'm sure they'll devote a good deal of halftime, Shannon, talking about how good this man is. I think everyone who's ever met him and watched his work ethic and how he's made himself a great player.
A free agent. A guy that came here as a practice player and finally got his big break years ago in a game against the Washington Redskins and showed everybody in Denver and Mike Shanahan specifically exactly what he could do.
Mike Shanahan has been as good as anyone in identifying talent not quite ready, but signing them as free agents and developing them on practice squads. Here's Tatum Bell on a little short screen, and he has a first down at midfield. Andre Davis made the tackle. Think about there are 53 men on every NFL roster, and the Denver Broncos have 10 of the 53 that were not drafted. And look at the starters: Smith, Sapp, safety Nick Ferguson, tackle Matt Lepsis. You got Mike Bell, Nate Jackson, Louis Green, Chrome Cox, Eric Pierce, and Todd DeVoe is not suited up today. And Smith is an inspiration to every young player that says, gee, I don't even know if I'll get drafted or picked by anyone. Right. Give me a chance as a free agent.
Well, Matt Lepsis was a slowish tight end at Colorado. They made him a tackle.
Here's Bell, and he has hit hard. Mike Bell by Andre Davis as Mike was backing up Tatum, and there's a free agent from Arizona.
Yeah, Andre Davis, this defense does a nice job, or has done in the past, of protecting him. And unlike most linebackers that go from a 4-3 to a 3-4, Andre Davis has not struggled with this defense. Often when you're inside like he's always been and suddenly there's people who are able to get out on you and try to block you, linebackers will struggle. That has not been the case with Andre Davis.
Until last year, he said he had never played in a 3-4. And second down and 6. Plummer, quick throw, and it's complete at the 36-yard line to Smith. Smith down on the turf and able to pull that one in front of Gary Baxter. He has caught 70 passes, Rod Smith, or more in 9 consecutive years. The record is 10, and you wouldn't bet against him not hitting that 10th season again this year.
Well, he's played with some pretty accurate quarterbacks too. With Elway and Brian Greasy was very, very accurate. Jake Plummer's very accurate. Jake Plummer probably has a little bit more diamond thief in him than the other quarterbacks. I mean, he's willing to take a few chances and just sling it around a little bit more.
It's 4 catches for Rod Smith in this opening half. The Broncos use a timeout. 2:49 left before the intermission. Down as the Broncos lead 3-0. Rod Smith with his 4 catches today and the 57 yards. He needs only 5 yards now to become Denver's all-time leader for combined yardage, passing the great Floyd Little at 12,173. First down, 34. Plummer throws. Complete to Javon Walker. Straight arms his way to another first down at the 22-yard line. Davin Holly at 5'10", getting a taste of the digits of Javon Walker.
It's an interesting contrast for him. Talking to him yesterday, Dick, asking him about any similarities between that Green Bay offense you were in with Brett Favre and this one. And I always think of, Green and the good running backs at Green Bay and it being a running offense that can pass too. And he says, no, this is a team that runs the ball. They want to run first, and I can do a lot more things for this offense.
He's been productive in his first season up in the Mile High City. This one by Smith is jolted loose and incomplete. Back to Javon Walker 2 years ago. He caught 89 passes, 12 touchdowns from Favre, and made the Pro Bowl. And then in the very first game of last year, that terrible knee injury that cost him the entire season, and then the trade to Denver for #2 pick.
Well, in the last year of his contract, to make it worse, Dick, he had a deal where he wanted to get a new deal, and Green Bay told him, we'll play this last year, we'll work it out. He blows his knee out, and it's worked out positively for him. Rarely does a player suffer that kind of injury and have it work out this well for him.
Walker to the left on 2nd and 10, and Plummer being chased right and now throws it in the air wide open in the end zone, but the wind takes it away from Rod Smith as racing back to help out on the coverage with Sean Jones for a moment. Smith was about 5 yards clear.
See, I talked about the sort of the cat burglar attitude of Jake Plummer's. He's working against Davin Hawley there is Smith, but Jake doesn't mind firing those up. Now, those don't help your rating. So many quarterbacks in this league are worried about what their ratings are going to be, and they're not willing to take those kind of chances. They'd rather take a sack than get an incompletion.
Big 3rd and 10 at the 23. 11th play of the drive. Plummer, straight drop down the middle, complete at the 6, and it's Brandon Marshall just into the game. The rookie from Central Florida has his first catch of the season as he snares that bullet. It's 1st and goal for the Broncos. 2-minute warning. Brandon Marshall's initial catch in the NFL. He's another big target at 6'4". One trip into the red zone. They settled for a 32-yard Jason Elam field goal. Jackson in motion. Tatum Bell gets away from the first man, McGinnis, and that's a touchdown for Denver. Once he cleared McGinnis, there was no one else there.
That was all about Nate Jackson. Did you see the big young tight end come in motion? He came around in motion and just sealed the backside defensive back completely away. It was a great job by that right side of George Foster and Cooper Carlisle. See Cooper Carlisle coming around, and there's 89. Jackson making that nice block on the outside, sealing back inside Russell, the safety.
So Tatum Bell has his second rushing touchdown of the season, 9 yards, and Elam to add the extra point, and it's the Broncos 10-0. Cleveland has 1:54 before the end of the half to try to get on the board. Yards, 12 plays, and Bell with a 9-yard touchdown run. 10-0 for Denver as Paul Ernster, the punter, kicks it off toward Joshua Cribbs. This one halfway into the end zone, and Cribbs will take a knee on the 20-yard line. 1:54 left in the half. So look again, Randy, at the blocking on that touchdown run.
We talked about Nate Jackson, but here's Steven Alexander, and here's Jackson right here, and Cooper Carlisle, the right guard. Those are the 3 key blocks. Carlisle pulling around. Steven Alexander does a great job of sealing and closing the corner. Cooper Carlisle cuts off the linebacker, and then once you seal that safety inside, it's just a cruise in there for Bell.
Tatum Bell's second touchdown run of the season and a 10-0 lead. Now Charlie Fry and the Browns go to work at the 20. They have 2 timeouts to use. Fry into the flat. Short pass, and trying to struggle away was Jarovicius. Gets 5 on the play. Quick note on Jake Plummer. The most passes he'd thrown this year, Randy Cross, 30 against both Kansas City and New England. He's fired it 25 times in the first half today. Fry underneath the drones. Tackled immediately. Twists to the 30. And he's going to be spotted just shy of the first down. Now Wilson had his clutches on him and dragged him down. Now they spot it at the 30. First down, Browns. Clock running, 1:13, 1:12. Handoff inside to Drones, and didn't fool anyone in that Denver lineup, and the Broncos trying to take it away, and they have stolen the ball, I believe.
Dumerville came up with it. I think it was Wilson. Al Wilson ripped that thing out.
Veteran Wilson in the middle of that defense.
Got a flag
Pro Bowler from Tennessee, a flag down out in the secondary. And Romeo Crennel hoping that that might be against the Broncos, but let's check it as Tony Correnti is our referee. And this is the first flag of the entire first half, either side. How long has it been since you've seen that in the game?
It's unsportsmanlike against the Denver Broncos.
Correnti hasn't had a chance to warm up the microphone. It's been silent for the entire half. Watch 56 Wilson.
Al Wilson comes up. The forward motion isn't really completely stopped. The whistle hasn't been blown. He rips that out, and Dumerville just happens to be right there.
That is not unlike what we saw on Monday night with Urlacher stealing the ball from the Arizona's Edgerrin James.
Exactly. You mentioned that Jake Plummer had thrown the ball 25 times already, Dick. You got plenty of time here with 1 minute and 2 seconds left. He'll no doubt add about a half a dozen throws to his list.
Yeah, this could be the dagger against the Browns. Already 10-0, and now the ball here in the final minute of this first half. 58 seconds as Bell unable to get much into the arms of Wembley. Halftime report. One of those scores Denver fans enjoyed as San Diego lost at Kansas City, and a Denver win then today here in Cleveland would secure sole possession of first place in the AFC West. Second down for Plummer. He's going deep down the sidelines for Walker. Almost a leaping catch. He was covered well as Gary Baxter had position.
Baxter looks like he's hurt. His leg twisted underneath him as he was trying to go back. It looked like one of his knees just got trapped underneath when he tried to jump up on that ball. Watch at the very end as he twists and turns.
And then Walker falls on him.
Yeah. Talk about some bad luck. You know, you get a pec muscle one year, a pec muscle the next year, and trying to make an interception, you get hurt.
Had a couple of years for Baxter, as Randy Cross indicated, out last year with a chest muscle injury, and again this year missed most of a month, and now returns to action. And here's the play trying to defend against Javon Walker. Baxter. Well, you don't see anything twisting there.
But Dick, Javon Walker's a great example. Last year, Javon Walker hurt his ACL on a play that looked relatively normal, just sort of twisted a little bit and went down, and he had a fairly significant injury to his knee. It's such a delicate thing, and these guys are moving at such amazing speeds and twisting themselves into some strange positions. It doesn't take much to do a pretty good injury to your leg.
And Baxter obviously in pain holding his knee. The left knee.
You see the way that when you plant like that, there's got to be some wobble in there. And there's just 2 little ligaments in the middle of your knee that hold everything together. And for Baxter's case, I sure hope it's not anything serious.
A nice touch by Walker, who certainly understands being in that position. Just a year ago, the very first game of the season, Green Bay at Detroit. Here's that play. Didn't look to be anything serious as Walker, much like the play we've just seen, and he winds up with right knee serious injury and surgery and missed the entire season.
What was that, Howard Cosell back in the early days of Monday night with his the knee, always the knee.
I'm not sure that part of our anatomy was meant to play football.
No, not at the speeds and the strengths and the torque that's put on the human body.
The other part of the professional players, you can see there are no pads on the thighs, no pads on the knees. At least some of the collegians, some of the players will wear knee braces, especially the linemen. Did you wear a brace? Ever wear a brace?
After I hurt my knee, I wore a brace. Yeah, but not normally you had those paddle type braces for years ago. Guys would use to help protect their knees. But thigh pads and knee pads are kind of passe in the NFL. You look at defensive linemen even, and offensive linemen in some cases don't wear them. I don't understand why. I mean, I take every opportunity to try to protect those muscles.
It's a macho kind of thing, and Baxter, hopefully that's not serious, as they'll take him back to the locker room. He had an interception earlier in this game today as he returned from injury. Of course, John Lynch coming over to give his regards. I mean, here's one of the quality men in the league. Lynch, who you could spend an entire telecast just talking about the good things he does, not only in football but in the community. All right, 3rd down, 8. 50 seconds left. Plummer hit from behind, gets away. Then he's tackled for the sack back at the 45 by Orpheus Roy. And Orpheus Roy has his second sack of this opening half, and the 3rd by the Cleveland defense.
Excellent team defense by Cleveland on that play. There was nowhere to go. Every receiver that was downfield, and there were 3 of them, were completely covered. Jake Plummer, even after he stepped up, had nowhere to go with that ball.
So 4th down and 11. And the clock ticking down. Denver is not going to use its final timeout, and apparently neither will Cleveland. So that apparently the last play of the half. Fans don't like it. They want at least to see Cleveland call time, get a punt, and maybe break Cribbs loose. But we saw Cribbs has had his problems in the first half as well with a muff punt. Down to 4 seconds, and the timeout called by Denver. Jason Elam, as you know, along with Tom Dempsey, have the longest field goals in the history of the NFL, 63 yards. But I saw the game, called the game in which he kicked 63. Wind at the back, Mile High Stadium.
Altitude's a little different here.
And the wind is as well today.
Yeah, right here on the lake, I believe the altitude is about 1. And I don't mean mile, about 1 foot high.
Yeah, this is the bottom. And Denver trying to get to the top with a win today in the AFC West.
Well, this is a circumstance where clearly, if you don't punt it, you're just trying to run some time out here. You get in your victory formation, and
maybe he's going to go for the end zone and hope to get a prayer to be answered. The University of Washington, you college fans yesterday at California got a deflected pass for a touchdown to tie the game at the end, and Cal finally won.
Cleveland used their last time out.
So apparently, if we can eavesdrop on Mike Shanahan, one of the options here are wind up Jake Plummer and throw it to the end zone and hope you might get a ball tipped and steal a touchdown.
And that was Cleveland's last time out. Remember, they got a charged timeout on that injury to Gary Baxter in that last 2-minute area. So they're getting plenty of signals from the sideline.
That's right.
They can't say they didn't tell them.
Well, the Browns have 3 men inside the 15-yard line, 1 already in the end zone defensively. So a triple right, and then they hand off inside to Tatum Bell, and Tatum Bell runs out of bounds, and a flag goes down with it. End of the half. The penalty
can't end on a defensive penalty.
That's correct.
It can't end on an offensive penalty.
It's against Denver, so that'll be the end of the half.
Hey, did you notice that Braylon Edwards is playing deepest safety back there?
Getting a good hands man in the end zone. That's the end of the first half here in Cleveland. Denver Broncos 10, the Cleveland Browns nothing. We'll be back with a Sprint halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl.
Like we figured it might came alive today against these Cleveland Browns, and the defense has been as stifling as they've ever been.
John Lynch said that with all the complaints of the offense, he tells the guys in the huddle, look at the scoreboard. No one's scoring. They're not going to beat us if they don't score.
Just ignore them. If they can't get a touchdown, they can't beat us. And the one thing scary about this is for the offense or lack thereof for the Cleveland Browns, it's easily to see that when they have their success, they get some kind of work out of their line. Their line has not been very effective. Charlie Fry has done his best, but they had a week off. This is coming off a bye.
And if you can't rush the ball, you're in trouble. 20 yards rushing for Cleveland. The game today being broadcast in high definition here on CBS, home of Super Bowl 41. Paul Ernster has it teed up again as Romeo Crennel's team will get the ball first here in the second half. Need to generate something to excite these fans. I've never heard in the middle of a game a Cleveland crowd so quiet. There's just not much feeling of hope here among the Brown faithful. the score. He's still within reach at 10. Sidewinder by the kicker goes down to Joshua Cribbs near the goal line, and Cribbs tackled after hitting the 25-yard line. Tackled by Dominique Foxworth, the cornerback.
Well, Dick, you see this, the way this Joshua Cribbs will return these kicks. He's the definition of that old talk about special team specialists. You know, they don't care about their body. How much do you think they care about yours?
He's been quite an addition, however. And here's the Cleveland's last 4 possessions, barely hitting the 23-yard mark twice. 3 punts and a fumble. But the Broncos not respecting the run game at all, so they can play pass. And that's what Fry does on first down. Into the flat, incomplete to the fullback Smith, and he was hit immediately. Champ Bailey.
Remember, it was 4th and 1, Dick, that Charlie Fry was trying to throw a quick pass out in the flat to Kellen Winslow, and it was very well covered, and he caught a knee to the head as he was going down and actually missed the play. The next series, Derek Anderson started that series at quarterback.
Ruben Drones just 20 yards rushing on 9 tries first half. And there's a flag as Al Wilson darted up into the line of scrimmage, and Kevin Schaefer reacted for the false start.
False start, offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty remains, second down.
There were a couple of men suffering injuries in the first half, as Gerard Warren, the defensive tackle for the Broncos, is out for the rest of the game with a toe injury. Matt Lepsis is out, injured knee, and Gary Baxter at the end of the half appears to be out. I would be surprised in that the manner in which they dealt with that injury that we're going to see him the rest of this game and perhaps for a few games down the line. Fry underneath, complete to Kellen Winslow, tackled at the 26, but that just gets the Browns back to the original line of scrimmage, where it will be second, now 3rd and 10. Al Wilson, another tackle.
And so far, this Denver defense has done a wonderful job, Dick, of frustrating and stymieing the best weapons that Charlie Fry has out there in receivers, and Braylon Edwards and Kellen Winslow, pretty much nullifying them and holding them to those short little receptions.
Gerald Vicious to the left, and Edwards to the right. Fry just does get that one away, incomplete off the hands of Winslow. He was well defended as Sam Brandon, safety in there as an extra DB, made the play.
That was a nice job, really, by that offensive line, giving Charlie Fry the time he needed. He didn't have any extra time, but he was able to step into that ball and get that thing off before the pressure got to him.
Here's Patrick Chukwura, number 54, coming in on the backside. That almost got to Fry. Barrett Williams on the other end of this Astudillo punt. Floats up to the 38. Escapes the first Brown and returns to the 44-yard line. Tackled there by Rodney Poole and Ryan Holmbrion, the center. A fact about the offense of the Broncos: they've not scored a point this season on the game opening or the second half opening drive, and that's so unlike Mike Shanahan, who scripts the plays so succinctly at the start of each game and always does well. His teams traditionally to start the second half. Here's their last 4 possessions, getting 10 points and their 10-0 lead.
Well, in that first half, they set season highs for a half at a few different categories, and one that really surprised both of us was the number of passes and the passing yards that Mike Shanahan's offense put up there early. They still managed to run pretty good. Tatum Bell had 68 yards rushing in that first half.
Bell trying to follow the likes of Terrell Davis, Atlantis Gary, Quentin Portis, and Mike Anderson.
Ruben
Drones 2 years ago in that 1,000-yard column. Just put a uniform on a running back and insert him in this Denver offense, and you'd be disappointed if he didn't make 1,000 yards.
You know, you mentioned earlier about the free agent stick. I think you have to also say, and that's a perception pretty widely held, that anybody could do it. I think Mike Shanahan and his personnel people do a very good job of identifying the talent to play the running back position in this offense. The players are very, very talented. Just because most people don't know it doesn't mean they're not good.
After Javon Walker's catch on a first down to Rod Smith this time, and that should be enough yardage, about 8 or 9. A flag is down. If that play counts for Rod Smith to become the all-time yardage producer in Denver Broncos history.
It's going to be a little illegal contact against the Browns.
Davin Holly was the defender, made the tackle.
Illegal use of the hands in the face, defense number 20. This 5-yard penalty has been declined. It will be second down.
So give Smith 9 yards, and he passes Floyd Little. Look at that man out of Missouri Southern. It was a Division III team when he came to the Denver Broncos camp. Played on the practice squad, worked and worked as everyone raved about how hard he tried. He learned John Elway was a mentor, and now is the all-time yardage leader in the history of the franchise. Jake the Snake wiggling and sliding for a first down to the 26-yard line. The kind of plumber that fans loved in Arizona when he had to do a lot by his self.
Well, you saw a lot of that at Arizona State when he was leading the Sun Devils to a Rose Bowl. And last 2 plays have really typified the kind of players these 2 players are for the Denver Broncos during their career. Not only Jake Plummer in this run, and you can never accuse him of not having fun while he's playing, but Rod Smith also in that last catch. I mean, that was a typical Rod Smith battle for the extra yards kind of a catch.
Another first down with Tatum Bell in motion. I think that Tatum Bell gets the handoff, and he gets short yardage.
You know, a lot of complaints about Jake Plummer and what's going on this year, but we sort of went back and compared the 48 games that Jake's been there to the last 48, including the touchdown, including the Super Bowls of Elway's. Biggest difference is right there. It's in touchdowns. You know, those 20 extra touchdowns over the same series of games, 48 games. Let's see, 20 touchdowns, 2 Super Bowls. Yeah, and Mike Shanahan told Jake, until you win a game like that, you win a Super Bowl, you're going to get drilled.
On second down, he hands off again to Tatum Bell, and he dances his way inside the 25. He said one of the first things that I did when we acquired Plummer, I sat him down. I said, let me tell you about how tough it was for John Elway until he won a Super Bowl, and how scrutinized his public life was, and how everyone said, well, you can't win the big one. And it took him late in his career, his last 2 seasons, to win those 2 Super Bowls, and then he's the greatest of all time again.
Yeah, but at any point in John Elway's career, did they have the next John Elway on the bench behind him?
No.
Jake's got that problem with Jay Cutler from Vanderbilt sitting there behind him.
That's right, the #1 pick, who had a tremendous summer preseason with a rating well over 100 passing. All right, on third down. Down deep. What a catch inside the 10 by Javon Walker. Walker, with those great hands, snares another. He's having quite a day here in Cleveland. That's his 7th catch of the game for 93 yards.
He talks about how you've got to get in front of that jugs machine, and you've got to catch balls every single day. You've got to train your hands to be able to snatch that ball out of the air. Don't wait for it to come to you to hit your body. Get your hands out. And young receivers out there watching, you can learn a lot from watching this guy catch. The hands go out, and before that ball has any chance to get near his body, he's got it in both hands.
Mike Bell now the running back, and Brandon Marshall, who has his first catch as a Bronco, is in the ball game again. And there's the toss high for Marshall, who is 6'4", and on the fade, well covered by Ralph Brown. Brown playing in the spot vacated by Gary Baxter's injury. 2nd and goal from the 9. Well, these Denver Broncos, one would never have predicted that a team with so little offensive punch so far would be so successful, and that this defense would be totally dominating over some good teams.
And that's something really, especially today, watching Denver play this well, has really got to frustrate these Browns fans.
On 2nd and goal, Plummer again, almost the same play to Marshall, and it's a touchdown. Brandon Marshall, his first catch as a pro, and now his first touchdown today. And the Denver Broncos jump ahead 16-0.
Well, Ralph Brown was covering right there on that play on Marshall, and that's one of those things you go back in the huddle and you tell Jake, you let me do that again, I can beat this guy. And that's just clearly just a physical mismatch from the standpoint of a big, fast receiver getting all the edge he needs for Jake Plummer to fit that ball in.
6 feet 4 inches and 222 pounds, quite a target. And Denver's got some receivers of size on this roster this year. Elam with the extra point. Plummer and the Broncos celebrate. They jump out 17-0.
Is sponsored by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL and official airline of Super Bowl 41. The all-new 7-passenger Acura MDX, Acura Advance. And by Rocky Mountain Refreshing Coors Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL.
And the Halloween harvest, and ready for the kids' night a week from Tuesday. There have been some tricks today, and not much of a treat for these Cleveland Browns fans, although the visiting Broncos enjoying themselves again, racking up a shutout and leading 17-0. Had a 56-yard drive and 9 plays engineered by Plummer. A good scramble thrown in by the veteran quarterback. And then the 9-yard touchdown to that man, Brandon Marshall. He was converted from a defensive back to a wide receiver last year at Central Florida and caught 74 passes and 11 touchdowns. That caught the eye of Broncos scouts, and they drafted him in the 4th round.
Well, they really have revitalized this offense that was dormant earlier this year. But if this is a trend, it's trouble for other teams out there on the Broncos schedule.
17 matches their highest scoring game of the year for Denver. Cribbs gets it out to the 29-yard line, and with 9:05 left in the 3rd, Denver leans on a 17-point advantage. The Broncos 17-0. Reuben Drones, the running back, and Kellen Winslow in motion, and Charlie Fry off a fake to Drones. Little quick toss to Winslow, can't hang on. Wouldn't have gotten much yardage anyway, as Ian Gold was right there for the Broncos.
Well, it's the proper intent. You've got to get the ball into your playmakers' hands. If you're Charlie Fry and you're Maurice Carthon, the offensive coordinator, you've got to get the ball in Braylon Edwards' hands, Reuben Drones. You've got to get Kellen Winslow involved. Joe Jaravicious, very reliable. Get him inside a zone. Get him a quick pass. That's what you have to do with this offense. Running the ball is going to be a moot point at this point, but you've got to get it in the playmakers' hands.
So glad you could hear the quarterback Fry calling the signals, and Drones again cannot get to the line of scrimmage. Fans boo as Michael Myers is in the backfield to make the tackle. The former Cleveland defensive player. He and Ebenezer Ekubon came to Denver in the trade for Drones.
Well, these fans are booing the Cleveland offense, but maybe they don't realize how good this defense is. I mean, they allow yards. You will get yards on them, but you just don't get points.
And especially tough when you finally do get to the red zone. 1 for 12 touchdowns allowed by Denver when the opponents reach the 20. Fry fires, almost intercepted. A leaping try by Champ Bailey. He doesn't miss many. It was a tough chance, but the amazingly athletic Bailey up high to try to steal that one.
Well, that ball was thrown where there were 2 defenders and 2 receivers right next to each other.
This is since 1970. 1 touchdown allowed through 5 games. Now it's 5.5 games plus. And you have to go all the way back to 1934. The Detroit Lions, first 7 games of the season, didn't allow a touchdown. A different era.
Dick, that's 1 touchdown in 336 minutes of play so far this year.
And the Browns again 3 and out. Zastadell, a wobbler. Aaron Williams all the way to the 38 to collect it, and is tackled immediately at the 40. Smothered by a sea of brown jerseys. A 31-yard punt against in the league this year. Have a 17-0 advantage, and the ball. Plummer being chased and dumps it off incomplete, almost to Tatum Bell. That would have been a great save by Plummer, as Cameron Wembley, the rookie linebacker, had him on his back. A reminder, next Sunday, it's almost Super Bowl 41, CBS Sports.
Well, much to Denver Bronco fans' chagrin, this Denver team has looked a lot like the Baltimore Ravens. Great defense and questionable offense.
There's Tatum Hole dancing off the left side for a gain of 8. Finally brought down by the rookies Jackson and Wembley.
But this game against the Cleveland Browns has just sort of broken loose a little bit of the fun and games for this Denver offense. They've shown a little different side. They've thrown the ball almost on a 2-1 margin. Jake Plummer has not been afraid to take some chances. And a lot of what this Denver team does is related directly to what they think their defense can do against the opposing offense. And when you're being loose on offense, that means you're pretty sure your defense can stuff the other guy.
3rd and a long 2. The fake toss to Bell, and then Plummer going to keep it himself and head to the sidelines. Gets the first down at the Cleveland 49. Run out of bounds by DeQuell Jackson.
You know, when you've got Jake Plummer in a football game, it's really pretty simple. Over here, be real careful, because when action goes this way and Jake goes that way, you better have contain. You're the linebacker or the defensive end on that side, and you don't have contain, you're going to give up a first down or a big play down the field passing. That's just a given when you're facing Jake Plummer.
17-5 in first downs, reflective of the 17-0 lead. Mike Bell in with Cecil Sapp, and here's the rookie Mike Bell, and look at him accelerate through the hole and down to the 31-yard line goes Bell from Arizona. No one drafted him, although in his college career with the Wildcats in Tucson, he finished as the number 4 rusher in Arizona history.
Follow the lane. That's what Tatum Bell does. He looks at the blocking. He takes one cut right there. There's his cut. There's his lane. Ever wonder what that zone blocking scheme is about? It's about following your blocking. When you see your one cut, you take it and you sprint as hard as you can for it.
Bells are ringing. Tatum with 86 yards, and now Mike Bell with 17 on that carry. There's Mike again down to the 30-yard line, and a gain of a couple into the arms of big Ted Washington. Well, if the Broncos don't score again, as they work on Tatum Bell, if they don't score again, 17 points would be something historical as well, because 5 times in a row scoring 17 points or less has not been accomplished since the 34 New York Giants, and still win.
Well, Mike Shanahan hadn't had a team score less than 17 in 5 games in a row since he's been in Denver.
There's some good pressure on Plummer that forces the errant pass as Alvin McKinley charges up the middle.
And that's one thing we haven't seen enough of out of this defense, is that pressure. We saw a little bit of it early. You know, Cameron Wembley has got the ability to be slippery, and that's something you can't really discount. On the left side, he's just slippery. He comes around the inside as McKinley there comes through and just, again, kind of puts pairs to sleep and slips in there for a knock on the quarterback.
3rd down and 8. There's Wembley lining up on the right side. Mike Bell still the tailback. Plummer, and the whistle before the snap.
Timeout, Denver.
No flag. Timeout called by the Broncos. Mike Shanahan spending the first of this second half.
Hands.
This family starts breaking the law. How are we supposed to enforce it?
Jericho, a new episode, CBS Wednesday.
Broncos have scored on a 32-yard Elam field goal, a 9-yard run by Tatum Bell, and a Plummer to Brandon Marshall touchdown pass. That of 9 yards as well. 3rd down and 8. Over the middle, complete to Javon Walker, and Walker's right at the sticks as he's tackled at the 22-yard line. Jeremy Perry, the defender, a free agent rookie from Eastern Michigan.
Nice job protection. You're reading a blitz and you throw in right behind the blitz when you're Jake Plummer. It's great recognition by the Broncos quarterback, seeing the blitz coming and fitting that ball right in there.
Jeremy Perry, who's from Saginaw, Michigan, adjusting his equipment. He's seeing action with Lee Bowden on the sidelines with an injury today with an ankle, and Gary Baxter left with a knee injury in the first half. So the starting corners are out. Mike Bell, Cecil Sapp lined up behind Plummer, and this is Mike Bell whistled down for a loss. Good defensive play by the rookie Wembley.
Part of the reasons you get drafted in the first round is you have the ability to be that size and make that kind of quick play on a running back, Dick.
60 minutes tonight after our football action. Interesting feature. The biggest heist in history, Randy. Millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And we're going to meet one of the key suspects on 60 Minutes tonight.
I thought we were going to get into a first-round bust conversation. That's hundreds of millions of dollars, too.
Second down at 13. Here's Mike Bell, and he's hit in the hole by Orpheus Roy. Roy with an assist from Willie McGinnis. Clock ticking away, 3:45 left in the third quarter. Tatum Bell returns.
You know, when you're a defense, and you know, goodness knows Romeo Crennel and his defensive coaches, you know that this Denver offense is very much a probing offense, much like a boxer, kind of looking for that opening, looking for a place to fit that overhand right over that left glove. And Mike Shanahan is a planner and a plotter. Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator, has got to be so aware, as do his players, that they will fit the ball down the field.
Clock runs down, and before it hits zero, Plummer calls timeout. The second timeout used by the Broncos here in the second half. Well, these teams have had some great games in the past decades, and I was fortunate to be here for two of them. Perhaps the toughest defeat in the history of Cleveland Browns history. John Elway, first and 98, led the Broncos. Mark Jackson a touchdown to tie, and then Rich Karlis kicked the field goal in overtime. A victory for the Broncos, 23-13, and then the next year the fumble in Denver, the 87 championship. Ernest Biner hit by Jeremiah Castile, fumbled inside the 5-yard line on the 2, denying a comeback win by Bernie Kosar and company. They were going for the winning score at 38-33 and denied on the Biner fumble. Back-to-back losses that just took the heart out of this city. And of course for Denver, 2 storied wins engineered by the incredible John Elway.
Well, Denver right now in this game is holding a 59-29 edge on plays.
And how about the yardage as you look there? 306 to 97, 3-1. Plummer fires to the end zone, and it's incomplete for David Kirkus, a third-year receiver out of Grand Valley State, who last year was making Subway sandwiches out of football, and here he is playing on a team about to move into sole possession of first place in the AFC West.
Well, obviously Jared couldn't catch, so they signed him. You know, you get this personnel department with Denver over the years, Dick, and it's been over the years, decade and a half or so since Mike Shanahan's been there. They keep finding these kind of players, and it tells a lot of people. Should tell the people in Cleveland, those are the kind of players you need your people to identify.
Elam from 43, and like the first one, starts right, goes farther right. First one was good from 32. This one misses from the time it left his foot. So the 17 number still exists, and Denver's lead at the 3:04 mark. And the Browns will take over in a fairly decent position.
It is always interesting when we do a Denver Bronco game to see Jake Plummer holding for Jason Elam.
Yeah, that gives, you know.
It's the only one in the league. Only
and it
starter.
gives you a quarterback that can really throw and run, and you just know that sometime down the line, Mike Shanahan's going to call on a play where Plummer on a fake field goal comes up with something big.
Well, it won't be throwing to Elam, but it'll do something.
Charlie Fry has to swing it out into the flat to Reuben Drones, who manages only a couple of yards. And look at Darren Williams. He's only 5'8", 185, and he tackles like a big safety.
He's trying to keep up with the Lynches. You know, even Champ Bailey, he's got a guy on the other side from him that might be the most complete defensive back in the NFL. I mean, a guy that can cover anybody going without having to put his hands on them, and he'll fill up there and hit offensive linemen and tackle big running backs without blinking an eye.
He said Bailey told us that with the injuries last year, he couldn't bump and run, so he had to lay off the receiver. And he said, you know, actually it's worked out to my benefit, because now I can play off the line of scrimmage and react to the pass. probably more dangerous as a defender now than he was a year ago.
And he can't touch the guys anyway.
That's right. It fits
Quickest
right
way
in,
to get a flag.
right into the rule system. Well, it's considered indeed the biggest heist in history, hundreds of millions of dollars, and you'll find one of the key suspects tonight on 60 Minutes, followed by new episodes of The Amazing Race, Cold Case, and Without a Trace. Tonight on CBS, again this season, America's most watched network. Romeo Crennel in his second season here, and his team struggling with only 21 yards rushing. If you can't establish at least some threat on the ground, it just is an almost impossible task.
Well, it's 30 plays and 99 yards, and they're still facing some tough sledding here to establish something. You got guys like Romeo Crennel and Phil Savage. They know how to win. And 2 years is way too short a time to establish what they need to have here, but they didn't have much when they got here.
2nd and 8. With a flanker screen out to Joshua Cribbs, and Cribbs able to pick up a first down out to the 46-yard line. Well, they're back from holiday. The guys in New York. Let's go to JB.
Hey, Dick, take a look here. A little bit of a holiday being enjoyed by the coach offensively. Fun and frivolity. Peyton Manning hooking up with Reggie Wayne, 51 yards to pay dirt. Out in front of the Skins, 27-14, that in the third. Back to Dick and Randy.
All right, JB. Peyton Manning, all-time career rank in passing touchdowns with 255. What a throw again. Right on the money to Reggie Wayne. Fry has to hurry and gets it off to Braylon Edwards. Circles inside, and what looked like was fairly big play developing. Quickly closed on the speed of that Denver defense. And Demetrin Veal, a tackle, replacing the injured Gerard Warren, got a piece of the action, as did Al Wilson.
Dick, I'll tell you what closed quickly was that window between Charlie Fry and John Lynch. It was almost like that object in your mirror is closer than it appears. Well, this object got in Fry's mirror pretty fast, and he hit him like that and managed to not hit him in the head. That might be the only example you could find that's not roughing the quarterback.
2nd down and 6 on the short gainer to the 50-yard line. Fry again swings it. Drones ducks one tackler, runs through another. What an effort by Drones, and a first down. And Cleveland finally with a chance to let loose some cheers.
And it's another good decision process by Charlie Fry. And he's getting the ball into the playmaker's hands and getting him a chance to make the plays. And just a wonderful job there by Drones, showing you what he can do after contact.
He eluded Ian Gold and then ran through Al Wilson.
And there was plenty of contact from Al Wilson. He just sloughed him
Illegal
off.
substitution offense, 12 men in the huddle. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
It's only 5 yards, but a big groan from the multitudes here at Cleveland Stadium. You get 5 yards for having too many men in the huddle. 12.
Yeah, you know, a lot of frustration here, Dick, in Cleveland. But just from my perspective, you've got guys in charge that know what they're doing. Romeo Crennel and Phil Savage know what they're doing. They are winners. And one of the reasons you haven't won here in Cleveland is you haven't had real winners in charge. And you're just going to take a while to do it. You've got to be patient.
Empty backfield, ball batted in the air, incomplete. Dominique Foxworth was close, and so was Darren Williams. Now they got it going. Back to JB.
Hey, Dick, we couldn't leave you and Randy out there by yourselves. Take a look at this. Chester Taylor through a slew of defenders. Seahawks can't catch him. Fellas, he races 95 yards to pay dirt. Longest run from scrimmage in franchise history. 24-10, Minnesota on top of Seattle in Seattle. Back to Dick and Randy.
Oh, JB, it's a day with some surprising scores. Chester Taylor, 95, the former Raven, running for the Vikes. The pass out to Cribbs, and Cribbs on that little flanker screen. It's worked for the Cleveland Browns. Picks up about 8 yards. It'll be 3rd down and 7 when the 4th quarter begins. That's the end of 3. We'll return to Cleveland.
Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde.
Plan your escape route. The Cadillac Navigation Event. Right now, when you buy or lease a specially equipped Cadillac, we'll throw in a navigation system. visit your Colorado Cadillac dealer.
With Randy Krostikin, welcome back to Cleveland Stadium. Start of the fourth quarter, 17-0 Denver. Cleveland with a third down at the 40 as Fry unleashes a long bomb, and this one floats right into the arms of the Broncos. Here comes Champ Bailey in the right place at the right time, and he returns it out to the 25-yard line. That wind and Bailey playing it all the way just floated the ball right to him, almost as if he had his spot marked and just get it to me.
And that and the fact that Ebenezer Ekubon launched into Fry and made him throw that early.
Well, when you're trying to play from behind, that number will make itself known.
Yeah, you know that more if you're playing against a guy like Champ Bailey.
Yeah, and Al Wilson, who smothered Fry as he tried to throw that long pass. Rod Smith tackled as he makes the catch, and the rule down by contact. Jeremy Perry made the stop.
You mentioned Al Wilson on that last play. He starts at this position right here at linebacker. Watch him come around and go right into Charlie Fry and make him throw this ball early. Demetrin Veal takes up the block in front, and Wilson comes along on the outside, and the ball seemed to be going to the right place. In fact, Braylon Edwards is going there. Then at the last minute, see, he's there, and then the ball looks like it's veering this way. Braylon Edwards goes, whoa, wait a minute. And Champ Bailey says, my bad, I got it.
And Bailey with his third interception of the season to lead the Denver Broncos. Mike Bell, the ball carrier, hit right at the line of scrimmage. And for Bailey with 3 this year, he has 32 in his storied career. And it's only his 8th season. He was such a great athlete. He had Olympic potential as a high schooler and a collegiate. In high school, he high jumped 6'9". His best was 6'10". And he set the Georgia indoor long jump record at 25:10 and change. I mean, that's Olympic stuff.
Well, early on, played offense with Washington, played a little offense over when he was at the University of Georgia.
Well, he's got 4 catches as a receiver with Denver. Underneath, and that's intercepted, picked off by Andre Davis. And the linebacker for the Browns is inside the 20-yard line. Intended for Rod Smith, so Davis has his 2nd interception of the season. And the Browns with their deepest penetration into Denver territory. They're in the red zone.
Trying to just get a little quick look slant inside, and Jake Plummer overthrows the pass and goes right into the arms of Andre Davis.
And as tough as this Bronco defense has been, this is when they've shown their true mettle, when teams have been knocking on the door.
Well, when they're in the red zone, I mean, they've averaged, what, 1.3 yards per play?
12. This is the 13th time a team has been inside the Denver 20. Only once has a team scored a touchdown. Drones. Second effort gets it down to the 14-yard line. Center of that defense, Michael Myers helping out the backers. 2nd down and 5 inside the 15. There's the confirmation of the Denver defense, how tough it's been. Red's a good color for that statistic, isn't it? A deficit for the opposition. Last year they were 28th in the league in the red zone, but they worked very hard in training camp on just this. Drones able to power his way to a first down at the 7-yard line. Nick Ferguson up from safety to make the tackle. The only touchdown given up by Denver this year was to New England. It was late in the game. Tom Brady to Doug Gabriel touchdown of 8 yards and a 17-7 Denver win. And should Cleveland score here, the score then would be repeated at 17-7.
Well, the one thing people have not been able to do is run the ball against this defense. And Denver, I mean, Cleveland on back-to-back plays running the ball very well.
1st and goal, 7-yard line. Fry looks to the end zone. Throws, touchdown! It's to Joe Jaravicius. camped out right in the corner. And Fry has his 6th touchdown throw of the year.
When you're a quarterback who can move, and you're a quarterback that likes to try to make things happen, your receivers believe, and your receivers will get to the spots that'll enable you to find them. And wonderful job by Joe Jaravicius just camping in the corner there by the pylon, and Fry found him.
Good quick throw on the run by Fry. Here's Phil Dawson's point after. And it is indeed 17-7, and the Denver Broncos defense gives up only its 2nd touchdown of the entire season.
Well, if you're a defender, you almost want to say, well, can we split this one with Jake Plummer? Because after that interception, he should get at least 3 of these points.
To the Denver 18, 3 plays later, Fry hits Jaravicius, and Cleveland on the board, 17-7. 11 minutes, 43 seconds left, and Dawson once again denies a return. He almost kicked it out of the end zone. Quincy Morgan back for the Broncos. Let's go to James Round.
Hey, Dick. Well, Indianapolis is just opening up the floodgates. This 1-yarder from Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison makes it 33-14. Marvin Harrison ties Lenny Moore in franchise history with 113 touchdowns. Manning has moved past Sonny Jurgensen for 10th all-time, 256 touchdowns. Back to Dick and Randy.
Boy, you just wonder what is the limit for Manning before he retires. Certainly established himself as a Hall of Fame great already. Here's Tatum Bell. Bell for 5, for 10, for 11 yards as he's tackled forward. Finally by Davin Holly. And that would give Tatum Bell, I think he's hit the century mark for the afternoon. He's to 97 yards for the game today. The AFC North, the Browns are hopeful of an upset today to get themselves into the thick of the AFC North. Baltimore a bye week. Cincinnati with a big win today. Tatum Bell, the lone runner now, is Nate Jackson in motion. Bell straight into the thick of the Cleveland defense for a couple. And the AFC West, the Chargers lost in the final seconds to Kansas City, so a win by Denver leaves them atop the West at 5-1, and Kansas City is now in contention. Now 3-3 are the Chiefs of Herman Edwards. Denver beating Kansas City in overtime earlier this year, 9-6.
And we may be losing our last winless team in the NFL this year, because Oakland's leading Arizona 22-3.
Two unbeaten teams, the Bears and Indianapolis. Caught in the backfield is Bell by Willie McGinnis. Tatum Bell. And Willie McGinnis, who has been a total inspiration on this young Cleveland defense. McGinnis, his work ethic, out early, training, knows the game, has been with a champion, has the Super Bowl rings. Watch 55.
And what he brings to this team, besides his obvious physical talent, Stick, is showing these guys how to be a winner, showing them a work ethic that normal organizations don't have, the work ethic that Willie McGinnis learned in New England. They've got to establish a way of going about playing football and doing their business here in Cleveland.
Crowd trying to help on 3rd and 9. Plummer fires. It almost intercepted. A leaping attempt as the Browns' Ralph Brown had his hands on it, but that'll bring up 4th down.
Well, Jake Plummer trying to fit another one of his lasers in there. And Brown does a wonderful job of short-circuiting Rod Smith there just before the ball gets to Rod Smith. This sets up a great situation, kind of a catch-20. Which way do you go here? Do you set up for a big return with Cribbs, or do you go for a block to really try to swing momentum if you're Cleveland?
So Ernster to punt. Joshua Cribbs inside the Cleveland 30. Crowd now with some hope with 9.5 minutes to go. 9-man rush, and he gets it off. That's a dying kick to the sidelines. Wynn takes it right into the Browns bench, just at the 40-yard line, maybe just inside the 40. So Cleveland will have excellent field position, trailing by 10. 9.5. Company will have all the scores and highlights on the Subway postgame showtime permitting. Now Cleveland, after the short kick, takes it at the 40-yard line, trailing by 10, and 9:31 left. Fry out of the shotgun. Down the middle and complete to Kellen Winslow. Breaks one tackle. Stays on his feet to the 41-yard line. John Lynch wrestles him down.
That's the kind of play. Get it to the playmakers and let them do what they do best. And what Kellen Winslow does best is be physical and then be a wonderful athlete after you catch the pass.
18 yards on his third catch of the game. Stays in the shotgun. Fry scrambles. Stays on his feet and may have taken a yard loss rather than throwing the ball away, as Kennard Lang was on his heels the entire route. Lang from Miami of Florida.
You know, Dick, it's an interesting deal when you got a young quarterback like a Charlie Fry. I hearken back to, you know, years ago when Brett Favre first started the game. Everyone said, you know what, he's always trying to win the game and he's always throwing these questionable passes. You've really got to train this out of this guy. And you've got to be careful to train it out of a quarterback. Charlie Fry's got that innate ability to make plays and have the confidence in his ability and his teammates' ability. You've got to be careful not to stunt that.
Give Lang a sack on that play, a 1-yard loss. So that's 3 sacks for Denver. Throw it underneath, incomplete. Juravicius tried to run before he'd really tucked it away. Champ Bailey there on the coverage.
Well, it's third down, and field goal is definitely still in play at 8:30. 8:32 left. Denver's only run 3 minutes and 51 seconds off the clock their last 2 possessions. So Romeo Cornell and company have got the ability, if they choose to, and don't get a first down here, to possibly try a long field goal.
Yeah, they'd almost have to get to 25. That'd be 42 yards kicking in this win. 3rd and 11. Fry eludes the pressure and is tackled as Ebenezer Ekuban, who is tied for the Denver lead with 2.5 sacks, has his first today. Another Cleveland escapee. All 4 of them on that defensive line. Ekuban has been a good addition.
They're going to go for it here, I think, Dick, on 4th down. And this is something you do when you're 1-4. You've got a young team. You've got an enthusiastic, young, talented team. You have to do everything you can now to protect your young quarterback.
It's 4th and 10.5. He did get to the line of scrimmage. No sack for Ekuban. Needs 10 plus and doesn't get it. Foxworth comes up with a ball and it was trapped is the call, and Denver will take over on downs. So brief hope, and it extinguishes in a hurry with this tough Denver defense. So the Browns with some momentum, but it ends at midfield as they were unable to pick up the first down, and Denver takes over at the 43-yard line. Light rain beginning to fall. That was in the forecast, and later tonight maybe even a snow flurry or 2 as Tatum Bell, looking for the century mark, takes the handoff and gets about 3. That'll put him right at the 100-yard day. Coming up, time permitting, Subway postgame show. JB and company have the latest NFL scores, all the highlights of this day, including some surprising finals, all coming up on the Subway postgame show.
Now, this is the perfect situation for Denver. If you want to work on, we talk about the 2-minute offense and different parts of the game you want to work on when you're in a season. This is the perfect situation for Mike Shanahan's offense to work on kind of their 4-minute, 6-minute offense at the end of a game, where you just take a ball, move it down the field, and kill the clock.
And Tatum Bell is the workhorse. He's now at 101 yards. Throws over the middle, does Plummer, trying to hit Javon Walker, and one of the few times he was denied as Jeremy Perry makes the play. Walker is over the 100 yards. He and Tatum Bell both 101. 101 yards receiving for Walker, 101 yards rushing for Tatum Bell. Well, they don't lose often when they lead going into the 4th quarter, but very few good teams do cough up the lead late.
You mentioned, we talked a little earlier about Willie McGinnis. How about Andre Davis talking about Willie Davis, or Willie McGinnis? He walks in at 7 o'clock in the morning. Willie's in watching tapes, and he turns around and looks at Andre and says, "Oh, good afternoon."
Good afternoon, good evening, Andre. Andre said, "I got the message. I showed up at 6:30 the next day." Timeout called by the Broncos, their final timeout here in the second half. And a reminder tonight after football, here's our Sunday night lineup beginning with 60 Minutes and the Amazing Race, Cold Case, and Without a Trace. That's all ahead on one of the big nights here on the #1 network. The Denver Broncos trying to secure this victory and head home in first place, a game ahead of San Diego, and get ready for Indianapolis next week at Mile High.
Well, that'll be a matchup of an immovable object and an irresistible force with that Colts offense against this Broncos defense.
That'll be the big CBS game, a doubleheader next Sunday here on the eye. 3rd down and 8. Plummer to throw for it. It's intercepted. Thrown right into the arms. No, he dropped it. Didn't quite have. Had the ball and couldn't secure it. Ralph Brown, who nearly intercepted the ball earlier in the second half. He's getting his hands on it. Replacing Gary Baxter. Brown seeing a lot of duty today. 7th year out of Nebraska.
Great job of squatting right there in front of Javon Walker.
Walker actually broke up the interception.
Hey, you know right now Paul Ernster is going to struggle to get this ball far down the field. Cribbs will get a chance to return this ball.
Most of the kicks being driven to the far sidelines by this swirling wind at Cleveland Stadium. This one's end over end. Cribbs muffs it, picks it up, eludes one tackler, and then is stuffed at the 15-yard line as Cecil Sapp down there to make the tackle. So Cleveland comes on the field trailing by 10. 6:46 to go in the 4th quarter.
The wind affects the visiting team and obviously also affects the home team. I know Romeo Crennel tries to get these guys outside and practicing in the elements as much as possible, but might want to put his young punt returner in a van and send him down to the home field and let him practice in these winds at the stadium, because he seems to be struggling with them.
Trying to catch a knuckleball that last punt.
Denver only used 45 seconds on the clock with that last possession, Dick.
No, that gives Fry and the Browns a chance. Almost intercepted by Denver. Looked like Nick Ferguson had a shot at that pick. Intended for Kellen Winslow.
Winslow never really had a chance to see that ball. He was stumbling. He was tripping. His head was down, and that was a prime opportunity for Nick Ferguson to pick that one off.
Ferguson, one of those walk-ons in college and undrafted players that are now starters here in Denver, for Denver. On 2nd and 10. Fry, another drop. This time Juravicius.
It's the second drop for the local. He's got 1 touchdown, but these last 2 drives, they've really needed these catches to come against this defense, because Charlie Fry has delivered him in good spots. And remember I talked earlier about Javon Walker catching the ball and working on the hands. Both those catches have come when the ball's gotten into his body.
Juravicius with the touchdown, but those 2 drops, so it's 3rd and 10, and Cleveland is staggered in this situation. They're 1 for 9 today on 3rd down. Fry in trouble, doesn't get a chance. Surrounded and thrown down as charging through was Elvis Dumervil. There's the rookie from Louisville, and he is going to be a force this year. Such a unlikely man to see in the defensive line at 5'11" and 250.
2 games in a row, Dick, with 2 sacks, and this is just dealing with pure, unadulterated speed off the corner. Offensive linemen aren't used to seeing that kind of speed, and Ryan Tucker got caught completely flat-footed. A young man at Louisville blazed by him.
With the wind at his back, Zasterdale really gets into one. Darren Williams inside the 35. And a flag flies as he's tackled at the 37-yard line. As they mark this penalty, Dumervil at Louisville last year, again, not only 20 sacks, but he set a national record 10 forced fumbles.
Yeah, he had one of his records tied yesterday by a kid from, Western Michigan. Had 6 6 sacks in a game. In fact, the kid yesterday had 6 sacks and an interception for a touchdown.
Number 42, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Brandon with the penalty for Denver.
I wonder what percentage of those caused fumbles were on quarterbacks stripping them from behind.
And Dumervil, you know, he's always been in that sack column. In high school, he set a Florida record playing in Miami, 78 sacks as a prepster, and then he continued that pattern at Louisville.
78?
And then 20 last season.
Even if he played 4 years of varsity, 78's amazing.
And we asked Romeo Crennel about Dumervil, and he said, now that's the advantage of a team that's established. Man, we're building a foundation. We're not exotic yet, but Denver's got it all set up so you can take a 5'11", 250-pound tackle and insert him into an already solid veteran defense. Here's Mike Bell, and he gets about 4.
Well, good contrast is you've seen the many kind of looks and blitzes and attack mode that Cleveland's been in using linebackers and defensive backs. And it's one of the advantages that Larry Coyer, the defensive coordinator for Denver, has now with the players that he has on the defensive side of the ball, like Dumervil and company, in that he doesn't have to blitz everybody all the time. He doesn't have to expose his defense to the big play because the defensive linemen are getting the sacks and the pressure.
Typical Denver rushing game. Under Shanahan, they've been the top rushing team in the league season after season. Now Mike Bell, the rookie, in, spelling Tatum Bell. And he runs right into Andre Davis.
Those last couple of possessions, this Cleveland defense has done a pretty good job. They've taken advantage of one mistake that Jake made and turned that into a touchdown with an Andre Davis interception and a Joe Jaravicious touchdown. And the last couple of series, they've stuffed them pretty good and saved a lot of time on the clock.
Cleveland just under its average on the season defensively and allowing yards. As these rookies like Windley gain experience, maturation with each contest, and they're going to be terrific someday. 3rd down and 4. Quick throw is caught by Javon Walker, and again, what wonderful hands reaching wide. How many times do we see a receiver drop that ball trying to spin upfield too soon? But Walker gets the first down on his 9th catch today.
Usually thinking about the upfield part before the catch is actually secured, and just observation being that this has been the difference. As the inside receiver, you see there is Javon Walker catching that ball and using those hands. And so far in the last 3 or 4 series between these offenses, the difference has been the Bronco receivers have made the catches when they've had the chances.
Cleveland has 2 timeouts, and with the clock down to 3:50, they're going to have to think about when they want to exercise those. As on first down, caught in the backfield is Mike Bell and twisted down by Orpheus Roy. Roy's had a solid game at defensive end.
Well, Orpheus Roy just blasts straight upfield. They were trying to reach him with the onside guard, Cooper Carlisle. He came right through that to make that play. And remember, Dick, you mentioned the 2 timeouts. I mean, functionally, it's 3 with the 2-minute warning coming up. So Romeo Crennel's defense has got to get a stop right here. Next 2 plays and make him punt.
Did not use a timeout here, so Denver will just let it spin down. It's 9 on the play clock, 7 seconds left, and by the time they take the snap, it'll be at the 3-minute mark. Mike Bell again twists out of 1 tackle, but a stop after a gain of a yard at the 35, and there's the timeout signal by the Cleveland Browns. Well, as we've said throughout this game, the Bronco defense best in 72 years, allowing only 1 touchdown the first 5 games, and not until the 4th quarter today. This Andre Davis interception set up the Fry to Jaravicious touchdown. Only the 2nd touchdown allowed by Denver all season long.
Yeah, that's why with 2:54, it's so important, if you're a Bronco fan, that you see your football team sort of maintain their focus, maintain their edge. Because 2:54 is not too little time to win this football game for Cleveland. Stranger things have happened.
To win 5 games in a row and score 17 points or less, You realize how difficult that is in this league, 17 points or less, and win 5 in a row? Well, you go through a lot of pages in the history book, all the way back to 34 again, when the New York Giants.
Was that the year? Was it the Giants?
Same year
that had 7 years with 7 games nobody scored?
No, that was the Lions that didn't allow any points in 7 games, and the Giants won 5 in a row by scoring 17 or less. So in modern football, this is just would be incredible for Denver. Just more testimony to the defense as Tatum Bell weaving his way on 3rd and long. He picks up what appears to be a first down.
Well, that's what amounts to adding insult to injury, is giving up a first down in that circumstance.
3rd and long and 13-yard run by Tatum Bell. Now he's at the 114 mark for the game.
But again, you see the back being patient for Denver and looking. And when he gets his chance to make that one break, he takes advantage and bursts up the field because the gap is there. Denver
beat Kansas City 9-6, 17-7 over New England, and then 2 13-3 finals against Baltimore and Oakland, and leads 17-7 today. Is pulled down by the trousers is Tatum Bell at the 46-yard line. Cleveland will use its final timeout at the 2:09 mark. Well, Denver apparently will go back to Mile High Stadium with a 5-1 record and in first place. 2 big games coming up, at home against Indianapolis and then on the road to the Steelers. A surprising 2-4 start for the Super Bowl champs.
And Ben Roethlisberger was knocked out of that game today. Charlie Batch finished up about 2.5 quarters.
And of course his condition will be of considerable concern for all the fans in the Steel City. For the Cleveland Browns, they have the Jets here at home next week, and the Jets just very quietly and in the shadows are a nice 4-3 start.
Hey, I'll tell you too, we talked about Matt Lepsis hurting his knee. Don't forget, if Eric Pierce has to play next week against Indy, he's going against Dwight Freeney. That's a little concerning for the Denver Broncos offense.
Hand off to Tatum Bell, and the Browns playing run all the way, and DeQuell Jackson makes the tackle as we hit the 2-minute warning with the Broncos up by 10. NFL on CBS in the game between the Broncos and Browns. Dick Enberg with Randy Cross, and our score is 17-7. Denver lead. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately after the game, except on the West Coast, where it will be viewed at its regularly scheduled time. Broncos ball 3rd and 10. Tatum Bell and the entire Cleveland front 7 playing run, and they stop him right at the 50. That brings on the punt team for Denver, and James Brown with this update.
Hey, Dick and Randy, how surprised are you guys at the play of the Vikings? Take a look. Backup quarterback Seneca Wallace in for the injured Matt Hasselbeck. Hit by Ben Lever. It's recovered in the end zone by Kevin Williams of the Vikings. 31-13 Minnesota. 6:14 left in regulation. Back to Dick and Randy.
All right, JB, a Minnesota win will raise their record to 4-2, 2 games behind unbeaten Chicago.
And that's at Seattle in front of that 12th-man crowd that Minnesota is dismantling that Seattle team.
So Denver lets the clock run down to 0. They'll take the delay of game. And punter Paul Erstner then will deliver the punt with 1:14 left, and Cleveland about to experience apparently its final chance to move the football. Only time that the Browns have scored was on an Andre Davis interception in Denver territory to the 18, and in 3 plays Fry got the Browns in the end zone on a 6-yard touchdown pass to Joe Jaravicius. Stu's punt, and as all of the punts preceding it have done, it flies with the wind to the far sidelines and downed at about the 31-yard line by Carl Payma. So those of you just joining us, here's the scoring. Tatum Bell, after a field goal by Jason Elam, made it 10-0 in the first half, and then Brandon Marshall, rookie from Central Florida, his first NFL touchdown cash, 17-0. Here's the Fry to Jaravicius score. That is only the second touchdown allowed by this tough Denver defense in 6 full games.
And if you're a skeptic of this scoring 17 or less or whatnot, and can this defense hold up, you're going to find out if you're right or wrong next week when Indy comes to town. If they can do this against the Colts, they'll make a lot of believers.
That'll be the acid test as Charlie Fry is dumped unceremoniously on a tough rush from both sides, pinched by the Cleveland Browns defensive line. We'll sort out who gets the sack on this one. Now the flag.
Yeah, Bronco line. They just completely collapsed the pocket. The pocket turned into a bed sheet in a second.
Holding offense number 7. Cleveland's penalty is declined. Second down.
They'll take the play and move the down box.
There's Kellen Winslow working on the punt return team. Catches that cut block and see the legs. And another guy not wearing pads, and you catch those cut blocks. It's going to hurt those muscles, those thigh muscles, not having any pads on them.
And now Fry on 2nd and long underneath to Cribbs. And Cribbs lifted up and not quite planted at the 30-yard line. 50 seconds to show. That's Dominic Foxworth, the defender. Executive producers of the NFL on CBS are Sean McManus and Tony Petiti. Today's game produced by Bob Monsbach. Directed by Suzanne Smith. The senior producer of CBS Sports and the NFL Today is Eric Mann. As Joshua Cribbs pushed out of bounds by Darren Williams. And that stops the clock with 36 seconds to go. The director of the NFL Today is Bob Matina. The coordinating producer, CBS Sports, Harold Bryant. Associate directors of today's game, Corey Fishman, John Paquette. Broadcast associates, Julie Landa and Neil Patel. The technical director, Doug Fleetum. Technical director, Chris Romanek. And the audio supervisor is Dave Grunvig. Also stats by Butch Baird, Mike Burton with the player ID, and John Gwynn on computer stats. Fly arm hit as he delivered the pass by Demetrin Veal. And with 32 seconds to go, the Denver Broncos will take over on downs.
And we talked earlier about what the teams had to do, and they did make this the week. This Denver offense just came out and did what they needed to do, and pretty easy to say. They sort of did it on defense, but did nothing on the offensive side. They did not produce the stats, nor did they ignore the stats.
Kneel down ceremony, and one play in this game will be history, and 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety, except on the West Coast where it'll be seen at its regularly scheduled time. So one of the elite teams in the NFL after the first 6 games, the Denver Broncos. They don't score much, but boy, are they tough to score against. Champ Bailey and that incredible defense, allowing only 2 touchdowns in 6 full games, 17-7 the final, and the Broncos go home in first place in the AFC West. Final again, Denver 17, Cleveland 7. Coming up, 60 minutes, followed by the amazing race, cold case, and without a trace. For Randy Cross, Dick Enberg, so long from Cleveland. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 41. The Broncos impressive again as they win it 17-7.